There are moments when the greatest act of power is to say nothing at all. Imagine a situation where someone provokes you, expecting an immediate response, a defense, or even a spark of anger. Instead, you choose silence. To the outside world, it may seem like passivity, but within, it is strategy. By not reacting, you preserve your energy, you hold the reins of the moment. Carl Jung believed that silence often reveals more than speech because it embodies the archetype of inner containment. It is the refusal to scatter your essence in places where it will not be honored. This silence is not empty. It is filled with the weight of your discernment. The psychological impact of delaying a reaction is profound. When you step back instead of rushing to reply, you allow emotions to settle and clarity to emerge. Words born of impulse often serve the other person's ego more than your truth. But words chosen after silence carry the authority of someone who has measured herself first. Think of times when you responded too quickly and later regretted it, compared to moments when you paused, reflected, and then spoke with precision. Which left you feeling stronger? The answer reveals why silence, when chosen, is not weakness, but an act of self-respect. In daily life, this manifests in subtle but powerful ways. You receive a message that stirs frustration, yet instead of typing back in seconds, you put the phone down, letting the urgency dissolve. You sit in a family gathering where a remark cuts deep, but you allow the silence to speak louder than defense, signaling that not everything deserves your energy. You stand in a workplace where someone underestimates you, and instead of battling for recognition, you let your steady presence reveal what your words need not. Each of these moments teaches others something important. Your attention is not available on demand. Your silence becomes a boundary that protects more than words could defend. This restraint ties directly into another form of guarding your worth, the selectivity in sharing your intimacy. Just as silence preserves your energy, careful disclosure preserves your essence. You do not hand out your story to anyone willing to listen. You reveal it in pieces only to those who have earned the privilege. This natural filter not only protects your vulnerabilities, but also elevates the authenticity of your connections. When someone receives your trust, they know it was not casually given. It carries the gravity of your discretion. Jung would connect this posture to the archetype of the guardian, the figure who protects what is sacred. Your inner life, your memories, your vulnerabilities, and your dreams are not public property. They are treasures, and by guarding them, you remind the world of their value. In practice, this might mean declining to overshare in new relationships, waiting until actions match words before opening deeper layers of yourself, or simply allowing silence to carry what does not need to be spoken. Far from creating distance, this deepens the bonds that do form, because those who remain close know they are within the circle of your true self. Everyday examples reveal this subtle guard. A friend asks about your private struggles, and you answer with honesty but not detail, keeping the deepest parts for those who have proven themselves. A potential partner presses for stories from your past, and instead of rushing to impress or explain, you choose to reveal only what feels right. Even in small conversations, you sense when to withhold, not out of fear, but out of reverence for your own worth. The power lies not in saying nothing forever, but in saying only what honors both you and the moment. Together, chosen silence and selective intimacy form a powerful shield. One preserves your energy, the other preserves your essence. One communicates that not every action deserves a reaction. The other communicates that not every person deserves access. In both cases, your worth is guarded not by grand gestures, but by subtle refusals. These refusals are not walls, they are gates. Gates that open slowly, intentionally, and only for those who approach with respect. And this, perhaps more than any loud declaration, is what makes your presence magnetic. You are not hidden, you are whole. and the world feels the difference. There is a quiet strength in refusing to compete for attention. In a culture that rewards constant performance and visibility, choosing not to step onto the stage of comparison is a radical act. When you decline to fight for space in conversations, relationships, or social circles, you communicate something far deeper than words. My value does not depend on being noticed. Jung would describe this as a step in individuation, the process of separating from collective expectations to live in alignment with your inner truth. By withdrawing from the race for approval, you liberate yourself from the exhausting cycle of proving your worth. The paradox is striking. The less you demand recognition, the more recognition finds you. People begin to notice not because you shouted the loudest, but because your silence stands out against the noise. When you stop trying to secure a place through competition, you embody an ease that others instinctively respect. Men, in particular, perceive this ease as magnetism. While some women may exhaust themselves chasing attention, the one who is centered, who does not fight for the spotlight, becomes luminous. She becomes not a performer on stage, but the stage itself, steady, grounding, impossible to ignore. Daily life offers countless illustrations of this truth. Imagine a woman at a gathering who does not need to outshine others with exaggerated stories or laughter. Instead, she listens, speaks when she chooses, and her words carry weight precisely because they are not scattered. Or think of the woman in a relationship who refuses to play jealousy games, who does not enter battles for position or control. Her calmness unsettles attempts to provoke her because she will not lower herself into the arena of petty disputes. Rather than chasing, she selects, and in that selection lies her authority. This refusal to compete is not about apathy or detachment, it is about clarity. It is the quiet knowledge that attention gained through competition is never real attention. Genuine interest arises when someone approaches without manipulation, without needing you to shrink in order to shine. By refusing to engage in emotional contests, you make room for authentic connections to emerge. Those who are drawn to you are drawn not to your performance, but to your essence. And those who sought to provoke you simply fall away, unable to thrive in the space you have claimed for yourself. This connects to another subtle sign of guarding your worth: the discomfort you feel when someone tries to diminish your presence. The body is often the first to alert you: a tightening in the chest, a weight in the stomach, a sudden heat rising through the skin. These are signals that something is wrong long before your mind has found the words. Perhaps someone interrupts you repeatedly, dismisses your contribution, or makes a remark that minimizes your role. In such moments, your body does not lie. It whispers, "Pay attention." Something sacred is being tested. Recognizing this discomfort is the first step toward protecting your space. Instead of brushing off these signals as overreactions, you begin to honor them as boundaries rising from within. Jung emphasized the importance of symbols, and in this sense, your body becomes a living symbol of self-respect. The unease is not weakness, it is your unconscious defending your dignity. To ignore it is to abandon yourself. To honor it is to reinforce that you are not available for subtle forms of disrespect. The strategies you use in these moments need not be confrontational. Sometimes the most powerful response is as simple as pausing, meeting the other person's gaze, and letting silence underline what words need not. At other times, it may be choosing to leave a space that consistently erodes your presence, or calmly stating, "I don't appreciate being spoken to that way." These actions may seem small, but they send an unmistakable message. Your worth is not up for negotiation. You are not here to compete, and you are not here to shrink. By weaving these two signs together, the refusal to fight for attention and the rejection of subtle disrespect, you create an atmosphere where your value is self-evident. You no longer need to prove it, nor defend it endlessly. Instead, your very way of being communicates, I guard what I am. And it is precisely this guardedness, this calm refusal, that makes your presence magnetic. It does not push people away. It filters them. Those who come closer know they are stepping into a space of respect, and those who cannot honor it fade into the background. There is a sacredness in the rituals that belong only to you. They may look simple from the outside: a morning walk, a favorite tea at dusk, a journal filled with reflections, a corner of the home dedicated to reading or prayer. Yet these practices are not ordinary routines. They are symbols of self-respect. They signal that your time and energy are not endlessly negotiable. By maintaining rituals that no one else can dictate or disrupt, you carve out a sanctuary of identity. Jung would call these daily symbols part of the individuation process, the path through which the self becomes whole. Each act is a quiet reminder: I belong to myself first. These rituals act as anchors. On days when the world feels unstable, they ground you. When others demand too much, they bring you back to center. The woman who keeps her Sunday afternoons for herself, no matter what, is not selfish. She is guarding the well from which her strength flows. The woman who continues her art, her exercise, her meditation, regardless of who enters or leaves her life, communicates through action that her worth does not bend to external tides. This constancy becomes magnetic because it is rare. Others sense that she has roots, and roots are always attractive in a world of drifting desires. The power of such rituals lies in their resistance to interference. A partner may question why you need that hour to yourself. Friends may tease you for being unavailable. Yet by holding firm, you silently teach them how to value you. What begins as a personal practice becomes a statement. If you wish to be close, you must respect the spaces that sustain me. Those who truly care learn to honor this boundary. Those who do not simply reveal their inability to walk beside you with respect. In this way, your rituals become not only nourishment but filters. The effect on your self-image is equally profound. When you return consistently to your chosen practices, you strengthen the bond with yourself. You remind your body, your mind, and your soul that they matter. This continuity builds confidence that does not waver with external validation. Over time, you notice subtle changes. You walk taller, your decisions feel clearer, your interactions less anxious. Others might not know the reason, but they feel the solidity in your presence. What they are sensing is the invisible shield built by your devotion to your own rituals. And from this shield grows another subtle sign of worth: the critical eye you develop toward those who approach you. No longer dazzled by words alone, you begin to observe actions. Promises mean little if they are not backed by consistency. Charms fade when they do not align with respect. This shift is not cynicism, it is wisdom. You have built enough within yourself to know that not everyone deserves access. Instead of asking, "Will they choose me?" you begin to ask, "Are they worthy of entering my life as it is?" This reversal transforms your posture from waiting to selecting. Jung would connect this discernment to the archetype of the queen. The queen does not beg to be loved or admired. She requires that others approach with reverence. Her throne is not arrogance, but centrality. She stands at the heart of her own life. Those who draw near must show through actions, not flattery, that they understand the weight of her presence. For a mature woman, this archetype reveals itself in how she listens more than she speaks, how she waits to see patterns rather than rush to believe words, how she allows time to reveal what masks may hide. This patience is not detachment, it is authority. Daily life makes this shift visible in countless ways. You meet someone new and instead of rushing into intimacy, you notice how they treat others, how they handle frustration, how they honor boundaries. You reconnect with an old friend and instead of immediately opening your heart, you watch whether they truly listen. You sit across from someone who claims interest, and rather than filling silences with reassurances, You let the silence reveal their intentions. Each of these choices protects your worth without grand declarations. You are not suspicious, you are discerning. And discernment is one of the purest signs of self-respect. When rituals sustain your core and discernment filters your connections, you no longer walk through life hoping to be chosen. You become the one who chooses. Your solitude is not loneliness, but sovereignty. Your practice is not escapes, but affirmations. The queen within you does not shout, but she is heard. She does not demand, but she is honored. And in the quiet repetition of your own rituals, in the steady gaze with which you measure others, your worth is guarded in ways so subtle that you may not even realize how magnetic you have become. There is a subtle alchemy that happens when a woman lives this way. By guarding her worth in silence, by protecting her intimacy, by refusing to compete for attention, by honoring rituals that belong only to her, she begins to emit a presence that is impossible to overlook. What once may have been seen as withdrawal transforms into an aura of mystery and strength. Jung wrote of the shadow as the part of ourselves that we resist or project onto others. For many men, the sight of a self-possessed woman activates this shadow. They may label her distant, cold, or intimidating, but what they are truly encountering is the reflection of their own incompleteness. Her calm presence exposes the places in them that still rely on control or validation to feel whole. This dynamic becomes clear in everyday moments. A man notices that she does not chase after his attention, and he feels unsettled. His expectation of being pursued is met with her refusal to play that role, and suddenly he confronts the silence of his own insecurities. Another man, more mature, notices the same behavior but feels respect instead of fear. He senses that her steadiness invites him to rise, to meet her on equal ground rather than demand that she bend. The same action, her self-sufficiency, divides those who are ready for depth from those who are not. In this way, her way of guarding her worth functions as both mirror and filter. The psychological effect of interacting with a woman who does not compete for approval is transformative. Conversations shift. She does not rush to fill silences, so the other must learn to sit with stillness. Interactions change. She does not tolerate subtle dismissals, so respect becomes the only acceptable language. Even gestures evolve. She does not offer her time lightly, so presence around her feels valuable. Men who remain in her circle begin to adjust, not out of obligation, but because her energy sets the tone. They learn that her worth is not up for negotiation, and by entering her world, they must carry themselves differently. This is not about control. She is not manipulating outcomes, nor is she playing games. Her magnetism is born from alignment. By choosing herself, she creates an atmosphere where only sincerity can breathe. Those who approach casually, seeking to entertain themselves, quickly grow restless and fade. Those who are drawn with authenticity remain because they sense that her presence demands something real. This demand is silent, yet powerful. It is the paradox of true strength. She does not push anyone away, but her very being decides who can stay. Jung's insights remind us that this process is not only external, but deeply internal. To hold solitude without fear, to listen to the body's signals, to maintain sacred rituals, all of these are ways of integrating the self. The magnetism that others perceive is actually the byproduct of individuation, the journey of becoming whole. Men may see mystery, beauty, or confidence, but what they are witnessing is integration. They are drawn not to performance, but to authenticity, not to surface charm, but to depth. Daily life offers quiet but powerful illustrations. A woman who continues to paint late into the night, even when others do not understand her devotion, radiates the glow of someone rooted in passion. A woman who chooses to walk away from subtle disrespect without drama or justification carries the gravity of someone who knows her boundaries are sacred. A woman who holds her evenings for solitude instead of endless availability communicates, without words, that her presence is a privilege, not a guarantee. Each of these choices shifts the dynamic with those around her, not through confrontation, but through consistency. In the end, the transformation of how others see her is less about her actions and more about their own readiness. To the insecure, her solitude looks like rejection. To the superficial, her boundaries look like arrogance. But to those who are prepared for true connection, her way of guarding her worth is irresistible. It speaks of maturity, depth, and authenticity, qualities that cannot be imitated. She is not playing hard to get, she is simply whole. And in a world that often confuses noise with power, her quiet sovereignty becomes the loudest presence of all. Solitude, silence, and self-chosen rituals converge into something larger than individual habits. They become a way of being that radiates enduring magnetism. A woman who guards her worth in subtle ways does not need to announce it, because her very presence communicates it. Time spent alone is no longer emptiness, it is renewal. Each moment of solitude restores her balance, sharpens her intuition, and strengthens her sense of identity. Her days are not dictated by the gaze of others, but by the rhythm of her own essence. This independence does not push people away. On the contrary, it draws them closer, because there is nothing more magnetic than someone who is whole in herself. The psychological effect of such a life is unmistakable. Anxiety diminishes when approval is no longer the currency of self-worth. Connections become more authentic when filtered through discernment rather than desperation. Energy is preserved for what truly matters, and the rest falls away like dust in the wind. Jung taught that individuation is the path to wholeness, and wholeness itself is attractive. It carries an energy of gravity, pulling others not through force but through resonance. Those who come close to a woman living this way sense that they are entering a space where presence is sacred, not to be wasted. The stories of countless women reveal this truth. Some discover love not in the years when they chased it most, but in the seasons when they stopped chasing altogether. They cultivated gardens, pursued studies, traveled, wrote, painted, built businesses, or simply cherished their evenings in quiet peace. In doing so, they became luminous without effort. The love that arrived did not come as rescue, but as recognition, not as completion, but as companionship. The men who entered their lives did not mistake independence for coldness, but saw in it a strength that invited true partnership. This is why solitude, when embraced with authenticity, becomes a lasting source of magnetism. It is not a phase or a strategy. It is a foundation. From this foundation, every gesture speaks differently. A silence carries weight. A refusal to compete signals dignity. A ritual kept with devotion whispers of inner richness. A selective openness reveals trust as something sacred, not casual. Together, these signs form an invisible crown, not a crown of arrogance, but of quiet sovereignty. The woman who wears it does not demand respect. She receives it naturally. Perhaps this is the essence of what Jung's insights point toward: attraction, born not of performance, but of integration. When you are no longer divided between who you are and who the world expects you to be, your presence becomes whole, and wholeness has a power that appearance alone can never sustain. It is the kind of magnetism that deepens with age, that survives silence, that outlasts shifting trends. It is the magnetism of authenticity, guarded carefully and revealed only to those who approach with reverence. So the final truth is this: when you guard your worth without even realizing it, you are not hiding. You are living as you were meant to, present, discerning, centered. You are no longer defined by who chooses you, but by what you choose for yourself. And in that choice lies the kind of attraction that does not fade. It is not fleeting attention, but lasting respect. Not the noise of competition, but the calm authority of someone who has become her own. And the world cannot help but turn its gaze toward the woman who, in choosing herself, becomes unforgettable.